This is a production of Gordon College's Scot Radio.
Scot Radio.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Ben Schneider Show. I've got a great guest for you tonight. It's one of my cross-country teammates, and he's also the host of my lead-out show here on Scot Radio, The Fresh Take. So it's William Lott.
Hello,
Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and for those of you who maybe haven't heard, we're doing kind of an ultimate crossover tonight.
Yes, we are.
So make sure you stay tuned after this show, because at 8 o'clock, I'm going to be on The Fresh Take with Will.
Yeah, he is. It's a pretty cool crossover. You guys don't want to miss it.
Yeah, I'm excited, Will. So, as with all my guests, I just want to get to know you a little bit better. I want to talk about your life so far, what brought you here, what you're doing, what your plans are. So, we'll start from the very beginning. Where'd you grow up and what brought you here to Gordon?
Alrighty. So, I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. So, I'm kind of a northern boy from the start. But I was only in Cincinnati for about a year. And then we moved down to Georgia. And I lived in Georgia for about 10 years of my life. And then from that point, we moved to Texas, around the Austin area. And then we moved back up to the north in Philadelphia. And then moved back down to the south in Richmond, Virginia. And that's where I've been since. So I've been moving around a lot. It's mainly because of my mom's job. Shout out to my mom if she's listening.
What does she do?
She's a pediatrician.
Okay,
So,
that's great.
yeah, she's a
That's
doctor.
wonderful.
She works with the kids, and she's been a great mom just from, since day one. And I know she's going to, just keep looking out for me in the future. So, yeah, so we moved around a lot because of that. And it's been kind of difficult just because, I make so many friends everywhere that I go. And then I just have to leave them and move on to the next place and then make friends. But I feel like it was a lot easier coming into college because I know I'm going to be here for, the next 4 years and not just for one grade. So I'm not really worried about, losing the friends that I made here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that made the transition a little bit easier for you because you were used to moving around.
Yeah. So when we actually moved from Richmond and we sort of moved up here to Boston. My mom actually right now, she's in Uganda. She's doing Peace Corps. So she's going to be there for a whole year. And she had to do a class at Harvard. So we moved up here to Boston and we stayed in one of the Massachusetts art buildings. So we really didn't move. It wasn't going to be a permanent residence, but we stayed here for the summer. And then she did her class, and then she was on her way to Uganda. So technically, if we're speaking technically, I don't have any place to live except here at Gordon. But I have my cousin who lives in Boston, and then my aunt who lives in Andover. So I'll probably be going to visit them for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So Christmas, are you gonna
Christmas,
go back home, or
I'll
is
be
that...
going to Uganda.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I'll be going
Okay.
to Uganda
Yeah,
for
that's...
Christmas. So the reason we didn't do it for Thanksgiving was because it was only a week for a holiday, and that's probably not enough time to go to Uganda and then come back. But yeah, I'm gonna be there for Christmas, and then if everything works out, I'll be there next summer also.
Wow,
So
that's fantastic.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I bet you are. So why Gordon? What brought you out here?
Ooh, okay. So Gordon was actually not my first choice until January of my senior year. So it was never on my radar. Since sophomore year of high school, I was always interested in going to Liberty because I was in Richmond and Liberty's in Lynchburg, Virginia, and it was about an hour away from where I was. And I went there for a music camp one summer, and I loved the place. Loved it so much. The people, the friends that I made at camp, but it just didn't work out that way. One, because of the tuition, it was a little expensive for my mom, so we had to figure out other options. So she actually, it's pretty funny. She just looked up on Google Christian colleges in the U.S. and then Gordon College came up near the top of the list. So then she started looking into Gordon, and really she told me about it. She didn't like voluntold me to apply, so I did, and then I got accepted, and after that I decided to apply for some scholarships. So the first time I came onto Gordon's campus, I was here for Fellows Day, and that happened in January. So I was able to stay with an overnight host, be able to experience dorm life also. So it was pretty cool. And then the next day, I did like the interviews and the stuff for Fellows Day, and it was honestly a great experience. And from that experience, it's what made me love Gordon. So I actually had the Fellows scholarship first, but then my mom told me to apply for the Clarendon scholarship, and I was kind of nervous about it because I didn't know if I was gonna get it or not. I think the Clarendon Day happened maybe a week or two after Fellows Day, because I know it was really soon after, and I knew I wouldn't be able to make it back on campus because of how soon it was for Clarendon Day. So I applied, and then I got a email back from Dr. Charlene Matumba. Shout out to her. She left about a month or two ago because her husband is working in New York, I believe. So she had to go, but we missed her so much. And so she reached out to me, and then she said that she wanted to see me at Clarendon Day. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't make it because I was just there for Fellows Day. And then she sent me an email back, and she was like, no worries, we can do a Skype interview. And I was like, wow, I never even thought of that. But she was just so willing to help me just be a part of the Clarendon group, even though I wasn't there. So I had my Skype interview, and it went really well. She asked me a lot of questions, but I got to know her really well. And then maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, I got the email back saying that I got the scholarship. And it was honestly a blessing. I say this all the time. The only reason I'm at this school right now is because of that scholarship, because I knew tuition would be expensive here also. But my mom had faith in like the scholarships, and she had faith in me. So if not for her, I probably would not have applied for the Clarendon scholarship. So, and I'm so glad to have the opportunity to be at Clarendon. I've met so many people, love them all, love my cohort. So yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the program that you're in now because of scholarship.
Yeah, so the Clarendon scholarship, first, like scholarship wise, it pays for 75% of tuition. And it used to be where it was only 10 students, but Dr. Charlene increased it to 12 students. I think that started last year. And it's basically just for students who are wanting to be leaders, who are like leaders in the urban community, so in their cities. And it's honestly, it's a great opportunity because, and it's multicultural too. In my cohort, we have a few kids from Brazil and just all over the world, really. My family's from Nigeria, and then my other friend Peter, who's in my cohort, he's from Africa also. So it's pretty cool to just meet everybody's heritage and find out a little bit more about them. So yeah, I'd say I wouldn't even just focus on the multicultural part. I'd say anybody who thinks they would want to apply because multicultural doesn't really play a big part. It's just about like you being a leader in a city or something. It doesn't even have to be a big city, just as long as you're doing stuff for the community back home. So yeah, it's a really good scholarship.
Yeah, and it always amazes me how many international students we
Yeah.
have here. You think of it as just a small little Christian college on the North Shore, but
Exactly.
we draw people from all over.
Exactly. And
I think
it's
that's
really
amazing.
neat because at my high school, I was able to have like a really good multicultural experience also. So I'll talk about that later. But for my high school, I went to an all-boys military academy. So we got kids from China, from Africa, even from like Australia, and it was just so cool to be able to meet them and learn about uh, what their lives were like and how it felt to come to America and move on, like move away from their families and stuff. So the multicultural experience has always been a really important part of my life, just because I always want to get to know people better.
Sure. Yeah. So you said an all boys military academy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my roommate Shane, who we had him show
Mm-hmm.
when we first started it, he's part of ROTC,
Oh,
and
okay.
that's kind of the Army
Yeah.
path that he's on.
Yeah.
Have you thought about a program like that after your experience there?
Yeah, so my military school days started in middle school. Before that, my grades were not doing well at all. I was failing most of my classes, but then I decided that maybe I should just try something where I would have structure. So in middle school, that's when I was living in Philadelphia, and there was a military academy nearby where I lived. So we took a tour there, and I like signed up for the school, and it was a good school, but it didn't have enough structure as I wanted. As a middle schooler, I was away from home, and that was like the first time that I had a phone. So because of that, I didn't really have my parents there to like tell me when to get off my phone or anything. So I'd always be on it, and it affected my grades. And it was basically just like the same grades that I had from before I got there. So after I did like middle school graduation, my parents felt like it would be better if we tried another military school. And I was like, okay. So then my mom told me that we were actually planning on moving to Virginia. I was like, whoa. Like, didn't expect that to happen. But then we moved, and then we found out about Fork Union Military Academy. And that was honestly, I wasn't nervous, but I knew it'd be different from Valley Forge because I knew the structure there was a little more structured, like not harsh, but structured. So I went there from my freshman year to my senior year. That's where I graduated from, and it was honestly just such a good experience. All the friends that I made, and it was not hard making friends there because we were all going through the same thing, being away from home, uh, just having to deal with the military aspect of the school. So it was really easy to make friends there, and I had friends from ninth grade up to my senior year who I still talk to this day. So, and yeah, it was a really good experience. It definitely it got me ready for college too, because like boarding school, being away from home, having a roommate, and all that. So yeah, it definitely prepared me for the college experience.
Is it something you'd do again?
Uh, I would say so. There were some things that I mean I didn't really miss in in like a military school, like always wearing the uniforms and stuff. We were never allowed to wear like civilian clothing or anything like that. So I think, but if I could do it again, like in general, I would say yeah, because just the friendships that I made and it really helped me to be a leader too, because I did my best to take charge of the kids. I ended up ending the school year as a first lieutenant from
Wow.
like a private
Yeah, that's great.
my freshman year. So I was leading those kids, and it helped me to just realize that leadership is something that like God has given me that strength, and I still want to use it after I graduate from here. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. Would you, knowing what you know now, would
Mhm.
you do anything differently while you were there?
Yeah, I think my freshman and sophomore year, I was in the wrong crowd. Those were kind of like I would call them my learning years because I knew the rules, but I still wouldn't listen to them as much. And yeah, I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, but then I realized that as like my senior year was approaching, that I needed to really start focusing in on my grades and other stuff like that instead of just always worrying about socializing. But yeah, so if I were to fix anything, it'd just be like hanging around the right people. And the thing was, I knew who the right people were, during that time, but I just didn't want to hang out with them because I was more worried about like being cool and everything. But then I realized in the long run, it doesn't matter like who's cool. It's like it matters if you graduate like with a diploma, because that's the important part, and being ready to face like life after high school. So that was kind of my turnaround after I realized that.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into cross country track and running,
All
because I know
right. Oh yeah.
that's where I met you. It's what I know you from.
Yeah.
So how did that get started?
So when I first went to Fork Union, I was not interested in running at all. Cross country and track, I knew they were there, but I never felt like I was going to participate. But so I did soccer my first year during the fall season, and then Coach Brown. Shout out to Coach Brown, because that's probably one of my favorite high school. He's my only high school track coach, but he's honestly the best compared to how I've seen other coaches. And so I was after a game, one of our games in soccer, a home game, and I was coming off the field, and he introduced himself. He was like, "I'm Coach Brown. What's your name?" And I said, "Oh, my name is Will." And then he was like, "Will, you look like you have a lot of speed there on the field. Why don't you come out and try for track?" And I was thinking in my head, I was like, "Are you serious? Like I don't know if I would want to do that." But but I said, "All right, I'll come by for a practice and see how it goes and whether I like it or not." So before that, I even wanted to try basketball. So I went out for tryouts and I didn't make the team. So then I was like, okay, let's see if I can do track. So I went to the first 2 or 3 track practices, and I fell in love, and I enjoyed just how close the team was. Cause I felt like when I was in soccer or basketball, cause I did basketball in middle school. I felt like when I was there, we would just practice, and then like during the game, we would be just call each other out, and then usually during those times, like they'd say good job for getting a goal or something, but at the same time, they'd like call out the bad stuff that you did, and I appreciate it. But some of the people on the team like went over the top. And it's like you're doing that wrong. You suck, and it was honestly like it made me feel like I could always be better, and I appreciate that. But at the same time, it made me feel like I could never be better. But after I did track, after my first track meet, I was just hearing so much encouragement and enthusiasm. The most that my coach told me was just to like catch that person who was ahead of me, and it pushed me to be a better track runner. And so I started my track career my freshman year, and for indoor season I did the 500 meter. And my first year, it was I was pretty slow. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty slow. I think I ran a 120 my first year for the 500. And yeah, I've at that point I felt like I wasn't gonna keep like improving or anything. Like I was just stuck there at a minute 20. But then I told myself, if I keep doing this for all these years, then I can definitely improve on my times. So spring season came that year, and then I tried out for the 400, and I think for the first time I ran about a 107. So that was pretty slow for a freshman. And I told myself, okay, that's okay. I realized what I need to work on now. So over the summer, I trained and I trained and I trained. I trained hard that summer, and then sophomore year, I did a lot better for the 500. So the 500 was my main event in indoor, and then the 400 was my main for outdoor. And then, so for the 500, I think I hit about, uh, let's see, I think 116, 117. And I honestly wasn't expecting to like break any records the next year. I just wanted to know that I was improving, which I was. And then for the 400, that season, I hit about, I think it was 105, 104. And And then so I trained and trained that summer, and then leading up to junior year, that was my year. That was a really good year for me.
I feel the same way. I
Yeah,
feel like I don't know, I peaked junior year for some reason.
exactly.
Senior year wasn't quite as good,
Yeah,
but I don't know
and
why that is, but
yeah, it was
yeah.
it was really weird because like I did really well. I don't know what I did, but I did well. So for the 500, my junior year, I was hitting 112, and then for the 400, I hit let's see, I think I hit about 50, 57, 58 my junior year, and then senior year was a little rough. I had my indoor season for states. I had the flu for the first time. I had never gotten the flu before that, but then I got the flu. So for prep leagues and state championships, I didn't do too well. I think I ran about a 115 again in prep leagues, and then for states I ran about 112. But before that, my other meets, my fastest time was a 109.11, and and that was just such a good accomplishment and achievement because I wanted to hit 110 before I graduated, and I did, and I was able to. And then for outdoor season, that was one of my best seasons yet. And so for prep leagues, I hit 50.93, and then for states, that was a crazy day. It was raining that day, and it was just wet and it sucked. But that's where I hit a real good record of 49.86 for my 400, and it was just one of the best feelings that I had. I knew before that, but I knew at that point that I wanted to continue to do track then. And it's my senior year, actually, I did cross country. That was the first time I started doing cross country because I knew that like I was kind of lazy before during the fall season, but I realized if I'm gonna get better, if I want to get better at indoor and outdoor, that I need to do cross country. So, and my cross country season went fairly well for that senior year. I ended my last 5K within 18:11, and that was pretty close to my with the record that I wanted to. I wanted to go 18 or below, but 18:11 was still pretty good. And so then yeah, and then the track seasons came, and then I was done. After that last outdoor state meet, it really hit me like, wow, this my track and cross country high school career is done. Uh, but then at that point, I said I want to continue to do this in college because I want to still be a leader on the team and break some records and just encourage others. So, and that was really something that Coach Brown taught me. He taught me to just keep cheering on others. Uh, don't let, don't overwhelm yourself. Just thinking about your race, thinking about the others and their racing. So yeah, it was a really good track cross country experience in high school. That part I would do again, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. How long did it take you to? Because I take it you're only doing 400 or 500 meters in track. What
Yeah.
was the? You join cross country, they throw you
hmm
into a 5K in an open field. What
Yeah.
what is that
Yeah,
like
it
for
was
you?
honestly a big change. I was not ready for that kind of distance, but my mom always told me that when I was on the soccer field that I would just have so much energy and I would never stop running around, and it was just I wasn't too confident about it the first time I did it. So I was thinking, "Oh, like this is a 5K and this is supposed to take me this is going to be like 15 or like 18 to 20 minutes of just straight running as hard as I can. Can I do this?" And then but I knew that I had to try, and I knew it was going to help me. So practices were probably the hardest part because I mean we'd be going for like an hour every day, doing some runs and then like sprinting afterwards, doing strides. And I wasn't used to that because I was always used to just like sprinting some more instead of like the long distance part. But I got used to it, and then uh, after maybe the third or fourth cross country meet, I felt confident in the way that I ran, and I knew how to pace myself for the 5K. So that was really nice. So yeah.
Yeah, so you're here now. You've had a great season.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're, well, I would assume you're looking forward to regionals coming up this weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am. I'm super excited for all. I know the team is going to accomplish a lot. We've already accomplished a lot this season, and I know we're going to go out there and kill it this Saturday. So, yeah.
Yeah. What have you thought of being here, being on the team, and how's your season gone for you personally? Have you accomplished what you wanted to?
Yeah. So 8Ks are definitely hard compared to 5Ks.
Yeah.
And
I found that out freshman year.
Exactly. And it's just a whole different way to pace yourself, and you have to get used to that. So for this season, I would say I think I got really close to accomplishing what I wanted. I wanted to go sub 30, and I think I can't remember what I got at our last meet for the championships, but I think I got 30:07. So I was really close. So that's kind of my goal for next year, to hit sub 30, and then it'll keep going down when I start hitting them. So then after I hit sub 30, it'll be like sub 29 or sub 29:30, something like that. So, but for the most part, I would say that I achieved what I wanted to. I wish I could be there like for the team more, but I have men's choir and all that stuff. But I think next year, after men's choir is done, I'll be able to focus in during the season and be there, show up like every day. So yeah, but freshman year is pretty busy, and I knew that was going to happen. And I knew it was going to somehow affect cross country, but I just had to be ready to balance those two out.
Do you think that's been a disadvantage or something that's hurt you, not being able to be with the team, having to do choir?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know you're a music guy. I know you enjoy that. But
Yeah. I would say that like the only disadvantage that comes to it is that I don't feel as close as like to the team as I want to.
Sure.
And of course, like when you're not around for that for a lot of the times, then that's gonna happen. But I still appreciate like how the team says hi to me when I'm just walking around campus, and they still know who I am, and they understand like, okay, he's busy this semester, so, and we respect that. So I appreciate that from them. So even I feel like I've been getting closer to them now after like doing the events besides running, like the pancake lunch or dinner.
We call it dinner.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
It's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon,
Exactly.
so it's kind of in between.
We'll
but
just go with
yeah.
like a brunch or something.
Sure.
But and then so yeah, after doing that, it was just such a good experience with the team, and being able to, I mean, I know everybody, but at that time I just felt like I was closer. And it's always nice because we cheer for each other when we're running, the girls. Unfortunately, we can't cheer for the girls because,
Yeah.
we're warming up.
Yeah, it's always kind of tough because I
Yeah.
feel bad because I see them supporting
Exactly.
me and us during our races, and we try as much as we can, but we're doing our warm up drills because we got to get on the line right after them.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. But we still are able to like say good job to them when they're done and they're coming back to the tent. And even after their race and their cool down, they're still out there cheering for us. So it's definitely that feeling of a family that makes me happy that I'm on the team.
Yeah. So, what goals do you have for track season? What do you want to do?
Alrighty. So for the 400, I want to beat the school record, which is a 51.
51. I got it up right here. 51:58.
There you go.
So
I want to.
Neil Olson from April 26, 2014. So it's been a little while.
Yeah. So it's about time for someone to beat it, and I feel like I want to be the one who does that. And I know Coach Weigert has like such high hopes for me, and I don't want to let him down in any way. So I know he's going to be training me hard, getting me ready for that first 400. And I'm definitely ready to do that training and just be ready to run. And I'm also ready to run the 4x4. especially with Tibbles. Shout out to Tibbles because he's the guy that keeps pushing me. Anytime we're running together in practice, he's always pushing me to do better. So I know that when the track season comes around, that he's going to still be pushing me to be my best, and I'll do the same thing for him.
Yeah. So I assume you have experience doing a 4x4?
Yeah. So I did a 4x8 in high school too. Sometimes.
Okay. That's one of the oldest records we've got.
Yeah.
On the board.
Yeah.
So
that one's a little. I feel like we can beat that.
Yeah.
This year.
I don't actually think we did a 4x8 last year
Really?
in any of our meets. I know the girls did, and they broke the school record at New England's. But yeah, it's 8:39. So I feel like, I got close to like 2:15, 2:17 was kind of where I peaked last year. If I feel like I can only get stronger, if we can average a 2:10, all four of us, whoever it is, it should be beatable.
I think it's honestly possible. We have some strong freshman runners like Evan Page.
Yeah.
And he's had an amazing cross country season, and he's accomplished so much as a freshman.
I believe he's now third all time on the top 30 list for cross country runners.
Yeah.
So
and we have Cameron Abbott too. He's a strong cross country runner, and the other two I can't. Well, let's see. We have Will too. Will is a strong runner, so he might do the 4x8 too. I can't think of another person who probably do it, but whoever it is, I know it's going to be a really strong team, and I feel like we can break that record this year. But yeah, so I ran the 4x8 in high school, and my fastest time was a 2:01. And I know Coach Weicker has been talking about how he wants me to do the 4x8, and honestly, if it's possible, I would definitely be down to do it and help the team out.
Thought about an open 8?
Open 8s, I haven't had that much experience in, but I'd definitely be willing to do that also. I think I ran 1 or 2 open 800s in high school. But
it's like back in that 2:01 kind of range?
Yeah, I was in the same range for that.
The record for the 8 is 1:56.
Ooh.
So, and that's Marty Maloney. It's been up here since April 24th, 2010.
Whoa.
So that's one of the oldest records we've got. Yeah.
Time. Wow. Yeah, I mean, if I bet you Evan Page can probably beat that, and like he'll be fairly close this year. And just to think that he has 3 years after this to keep hitting those records and breaking them, so he's definitely gonna be a person who'll be down in the books. And but yeah, so relays are one of my favorite things. The 4x4 was always the last race in high school for the track seasons, and that's how it is here too, right? Yeah. So it's always just fun having every team coming out there and just cheering for everyone and having all that energy, and it's just so much fun to be able to like pass that baton, next person runs, and you keep cheering them on. So I'm excited for that.
You ever done an SMR?
Yes, I've done an SMR once, and I did the 400 for that one. And I had a friend who did an 800. So the SMR, if that comes up, I'd also be really willing to do that.
It's a rare event. You don't see it every meet. That record was from 2005, and I was fortunate enough to be part of the 800 leg.
Okay.
That broke that record last year.
Oh,
so
yeah. Okay.
I think
go.
I mean we chopped a few seconds off of it, but I know if we get guys like you and because like I'll openly admit, Mikey stuff came up, he couldn't do track, he could have done an 800 faster than me.
Yeah.
So I know like if you were to do the 8, for example, you do your 2:01, 2:02, that's another 10 seconds right there.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There's definitely a lot of room to take that record down even further as well. And I'd love to see you guys wipe as many of these records away as possible and start making our own ones. Yeah,
this year, like our team is just so strong, and I'm so excited for track season just because of all that I know that our team can do. And so it'll be fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, same here.
All right, so let's get into some academics and career plans. I know you've obviously got a great deal of music stuff going on right now. Is that your major?
Actually, no. I am a music minor,
Okay.
and my major, as of right now, I'm deciding, but
All right.
I'm leaning towards business administration with a focus in marketing. So
I see you're dressed pretty nice. Is that
yeah,
where you just came from?
I actually had I work in admissions, so I had
Okay. That's great.
I was a lunch host today for some of the kids that came on campus, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so business administration has always been my dad's thing. He works in like the pharmaceutical side, so he's still a doctor, but he works with like the big companies like CVS and stuff, and he does the marketing for them. So he's a big deal. And so he was the one. I didn't think that I was gonna take my mom's way of life and do doctor or like medical school or anything like that. It wasn't really something I was ever interested in. But I knew business, that I was like fairly good at doing marketing because I had some marketing stuff that I did for my high school and for my middle school, and everyone was like, you should continue to do this like in college and maybe make a career with it. And I was like, okay, that's a good idea. Let me think about it. So now I think after a few weeks, I think that's where God is calling me in the business way of life. But the reason I wanted to make music my major, but music performance specifically. But the reason I didn't was because my mom sat me down and made me really think about like what careers are available after I graduate. And I feel like I'd be more just like set for life if I have something for a major as business instead of music, because I really had to think about it like I'm just a singer. I play piano, but like not professionally or anything. It's like, what can I do after Gordon College
Yeah, that's
that'll
fair.
really like help me to pay the bills or anything? Because like not everyone's who's a famous Christian artist. Not everyone's like a Phil Wickham or something. They don't get like the gold records, platinum records, or anything like that. So I wanted to just focus in on something more, I guess I would say, not really like practical, but at the same time, something that I had more of a chance of succeeding in. So that's why I chose business administration. But I knew I still wanted to have music in my life after I'm done here at Gordon, so I chose it as a minor.
So are you pretty set that you're going to commit to that eventually
Yeah,
as your
yeah.
major?
I think my next meeting with my advisor, I'll tell her that I want to do business administration. So that'll be exciting. I'm excited for the classes too, because I have a lot of friends who are in the business area. So, and they tell me that the classes go really well and you learn a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And it's totally fair. You know, if you're coming in and you don't know exactly what you want to do, you try a few
Exactly.
classes out. If you like it, then
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it sounds like you do, and that's something that you want to continue to pursue. That's great.
Yeah. And honestly, I didn't know what a lot of people would think about like being a deciding major. Like, would people judge me because I don't have a plan for my life yet? But people really like when I tell them I'm a deciding major, they're like, "Oh, good job. You're not forcing anything. You're not just making any quick decisions. You're giving it time." And I was like, "Yeah, that's what I wanted to. That's why I chose to be a deciding major."
Yeah, so obviously you have time, of
Hmm.
course, you just mentioned.
Yeah.
But is there anything you're thinking of that you might want to do with that
Hmm.
eventually after you graduate?
Probably working with I was thinking either a big city like New York, Philadelphia, maybe even staying in the Boston area and working with my cousin. He works with I can't remember the name of the business, but he works with a fairly high business, and they're always looking for new people to work at the job. So that's probably where I'd want to go and start my work in business. So obviously, you can't get in the big leagues like the first time that you leave college. It's possible, but I'm just like getting ready to start off at a good pace and then continue my way up until I think I want to like end like be a CEO of or like a general marketing manager or something like that
That's
in
the
a
ultimate
business.
goal.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal. So, and I'm excited for it. What the future holds.
Yeah. So one other thing that you do here that you're going to be doing 20 minutes from now is your own podcast. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is, I think of it as more of a communications thing. I'm a comm arts major. I really don't know what I want to do with that yet, so I'm trying to get a little bit of experience in everything. And broadcast, radio, podcast, that's part of it. So what inspired you as a business and music guy to come here and do a podcast?
Yeah. So I always had like ideas for my own show or something in high school, but I can never do it because we never really had the budget to like come up with a podcast or anything for my high school. And didn't think I would have the chance to do it in college either, because I didn't know about Scot Radio until I actually went to like the Scotty Fair this year. But then when I found out about it, I was like, wow, this could be a great opportunity for me to talk to the people. It's always like, I've always cared about communication and communicating with others, and being able to like engage with my audience even when they're not like right in front of me. But that's kind of what brought that idea. And then when I found out the name, like my show now, The Fresh Take, I didn't come up with that idea until after I applied for Scot Radio. And it honestly just came to me one night. I was like, what if we just give a show specifically for freshmen, and then like we can have some other people on too. And so then that's when the idea of the show came on, and I talked to the Scot Radio leaders about it. They said it was a great idea, and here we are. And it's honestly been a great experience. My family's been listening to it. A lot of my friends from high school and here at Gordon have been listening. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I have that opportunity.
Yeah, I love doing it too.
Yeah.
It's a great experience. I look forward to it every week.
Exactly.
Yeah, so what's the show about? Why you guys, obviously you're gearing it towards freshmen, obviously. I guess it's your intended audience. But
Yeah. So
who have you had on as guests? What have you talked about?
So I said that when I first made the show that the show was going to be based like for the freshman listeners, but at the same time, anybody who's like upperclassmen or high schoolers, they can listen in too, because maybe upperclassmen can hear about what freshmen are struggling with and they can talk to them about it, or high schoolers who are becoming into college, they know what to expect in college. So I say anybody can listen in. And so far, we've had my first guest was Teddy Max Talanoa, who was the freshman representative, and I was honestly glad to be able to have the opportunity to talk with him. I actually didn't come up with the idea. My creative producer Kelby, she came up with the idea to talk to Teddy Max. So and it was honestly just such a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think about it, because he represents us as the freshman body. So, of course, I would want him on my show and talking about what he's doing for us. So he was my first guest. And then after that, at that time, my first episode, I was actually by myself in the room here. And it was honestly a little weird, because I was just talking to myself. No one was around. I was like, I can't do this. And my first show went for 18 minutes. And honestly, after that, I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue to do it. But then I realized once I start having guests on and maybe getting a co-host, that it would help. So I have a co-host now, Emanuela Silva, and she's a part of my Clarendon cohort, so that's how I know her so well. And we've honestly just had a blast doing it. We enjoy our guests. My guest after Teddy Max was Tyreek Seaton, and he's a freshman and a music producer, so it was pretty cool to hear about his music and what he's doing for the community. So then, and then of course, our next guest we have is you, and it's honestly good to hear. We can still, even as you're a senior, we can still put in like what we have, what you've learned from your freshman year and the mistakes you made and how you overcame them, and that's how listeners can still hear about the fresh. So that's what I say.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a freshman in order to have that freshman experience.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, I'm only a senior by credits and academically.
Oh.
So It's
Okay.
only my third year here, so I don't have quite as much
Got
to
you.
offer as a true
Okay.
senior might. But
Some people were like, he's a senior, he's a junior, and I was like, so I looked up on your Gordon 360 and
Yeah.
it said senior, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just
But
go with senior.
I'm taking 12 credits right now, man. It's
Gotcha.
great. I'm coasting, doing the minimum to stay full time.
Yeah.
I want to put it like that because I'm keeping very busy with
Uh-huh.
the mailroom and
Yeah.
2 podcasts here, but that's enabled me to be able to enjoy all of that.
Yeah,
You know, I don't have as much. I've gotten most of my core out of the way, and the classes that I'm taking are classes I want to be taking.
Yeah.
Stuff that's going to help me with my career,
Mm-hmm.
and so that enables me to have a great job in the mailroom,
Right.
have a great team, to be able to play a varsity sport. I guess we don't play cross country,
Yeah.
really.
We just run it.
Yeah, but and to do stuff here, stuff like this extracurricular with Scot Radio. So
Yeah.
it's been great.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I know we got to get ready for the show coming up.
Yes, we do.
So, but I appreciate you coming on
Thank you.
and
Thank
telling
you
your
very
story.
much for having me.
And yeah, and thank you for having me.
It's gonna be fun.
Coming up right now. So yeah, make sure you all stay tuned. Do you want to plug the show? I usually plug your show for you because you're coming on right after. But
Yeah. Well, everybody just listening to the Fresh Take. Of course, we have our special guest, Ben Schneider, coming in, and Emmanuel Silva, my co-host. So, guys, make sure to listen in, and it'll be a blast. So, yeah, stay tuned.
all right. Well, everybody, if you're listening live, thanks. If you're listening after the fact on YouTube or SoundCloud, thank you as well. And I'm Ben Schneider. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night, everybody.